Start questions for Coach with Paul to Coach's left.
Coach, obviously, I'm sure you weren't too happy with the first half. What do you think the difference was with your team in that 15-0 run in the second half to kind of get some breathing room?
I mean, we fully expected them to come out and try to punch us in the face and play really hard. And I got a lot of respect for Coach Pujols. I've known him for a long, long time. I mean, they won 24 games last year, won their league. They're picked to win their league this year. As coaches, we expected them to challenge us. They weren't gonna not show up. And the first half it was going fine, I thought, and then just all of a sudden, the momentum didn't go our way. I think we were up 1.5, and then the biggest, challenge that we faced is we were down 50-42, and you could feel it. I didn't call timeout. I'm sure people wanted me to call timeout, but I didn't. And they figured it out. And I just thought we had a group out there that just changed the tide a little bit, just with their defense and the rebounding and the running, and they just really locked in defensively. And to me, that was that stretch there when it got 50-42, and then it wasn't that long before we took the lead. And then in the end, I thought our depth and our conditioning, wore them out a little bit because we kept talking about that in our huddles. Just keep coming, they get tired, keep coming, and then we were able to pull away at the end.
We'll go to Jacob, second row, to the far end of the right, Coach.
Jabari gives you a pretty big boost off the bench, and it's a really impressive thing. It's kind of, what did you see from his performance tonight? Did it surprise you in any way?
No, I'm not surprised at all. He's a big, strong guard. Obviously, he's an SEC athlete, and he's played college basketball for 3 years. He's got a lot of pride. He's got pride in his game. He's got pride on the defensive end. He's been very, very coachable. He's been good in our 3 outings we've had. Obviously this is the only one that counts, but he just looks like he's ready to go on the court, when it's game time. And as long as he keeps doing that, he'll have a lot of minutes for us.
We'll stay second row, middle to Colin.
You mentioned that group off the bench giving you some life, especially at the start of the second half there. I know Jabari is part of that, but Sergey as well ends up leading you guys in rebounds. I guess, what have you seen from those players who, I guess, are kind of spark plug guys like Jabari, who brings that kind of energy and those acrobatic?
Yeah, well, we're still trying to figure out our team. I mean, we got a long way to go to really form our full personality. I've been talking about that with you folks and other people that I'm close to, that it just is what it is. With the newness in college basketball, I think there'll be a lot of coaches talking about trying to find their way and establishing an ID, whatever that becomes. Certainly, I know what I want it to be, but that doesn't mean it's going to actually get there. This was a step in the right direction. I mean, when you're down at home in the home opener by 8 like that, it could go south in a hurry. And our huddles were off the chart. Sean Jones stepped up verbally, Josh Hubbard stepped up, and all they talked about is defending, and rebounding and just playing together. And they're echoing things that they've heard from me. And so I thought that was a really, really good sign. But like I said, we're in the infant stages of forming what we're going to be and who we're going to be. And in the first half, and this is an excuse, and people can poke holes in it, but we had a scripted sub pattern, which I don't do very often, but I just really was struggling mentally on who needed to play, and I wanted to give everybody an opportunity, and so we did that. And so we had a couple lineups out there that probably weren't our best, but it gave guys some opportunities to get their feet wet, if you will, and see how they looked out in the court, and get some obviously game film for everybody. And then the second half, that wasn't our plan, and certainly we didn't do that. We didn't sub quite as liberally as the second half.
Go ahead, Sam, and then we'll go back to Paul here to Coach's left.
Yeah, I was kind of going to ask about that with the rotations, and it was pretty early and often you were going deep into the bench. I think it was 11 guys that played tonight. Is that kind of a sweet spot or ideal amount that you want to see with this team, or do you have a number in mind, or is it maybe just ebbs and flows?
Yeah, I mean, litmus test always with them is, hey, if you could move the needle, we'll find you, minutes on the court, and that remains the same. And it's certainly with practice, and obviously the guys we played, in my mind, or our mind, were the ones that needed to be on the court. Now, as we get games under our belt, the productivity in those said minutes will determine going forward, how many minutes they get. And certainly, I I talked about it with you guys last week. Now we're going to start figuring out we're got a close knit team, and these guys are in it together, because every game there's always going to be someone, or two or three unhappy with their minutes across college basketball, and that's something that is going on everywhere. And certainly, we'll see where we're at with all that. But in terms of really having a sweet spot, that remains to be seen here down the road.
Kind of along those lines with the rotation, obviously Ali did not play tonight. Is that just is he injured or just a coach's decision?
Yeah, it was just a coach's decision, and I grabbed him in the locker room and said, hey, there's going to be better days. There's going to be better days ahead. Stick with it. And I mean that. I wouldn't say it if I didn't. And what I loved is the times that I noticed him on the bench, he was unbelievable in terms of his energy, his teammates, how he was on the bench, and that's always a good sign. It's just there's a lot of, between 9 and 12, there's just a lot of competition. There's a ton of competition, and eventually it'll work its way out. But right now, there's some guys that are really fighting and competing on a daily basis for the opportunity to play in the games.
We'll go to Brian, second row left, and then we'll go back to Jacob.
Paul asked Josh if he was more proud about the 27 points or the 8 assists. He said the 8 assists because he wanted to point that out to you. I was wondering, how did you feel about the way he ran the offense found his teammates tonight?
He should have said 8 assists and 0 turnovers, which is more impressive than anything. You guys see him. I mean, you don't see him as much as I do, and sometimes I think when you don't see someone for a long time, you notice the difference more than me, because it's an everyday thing. But that's what I've been most impressed with, is just his pace in the game. He's obviously even more explosive than he was, and he's driving the ball a little bit more, getting to the line. Obviously tonight he got to the line a bunch. But just his pace and picking his spots, and then the defensive attention to detail has been really, really good. And, he was great. I mean, obviously in the beginning of the game, he was the one that got us off to a decent start, and then he hit some shots early in the stretch to get the separation.
Go ahead, Jamie.
Jamar gives you 20 minutes, gets 2 blocks, does a good job defending without fouling. What did you see from his performance tonight? How much will it help you with that post defense moving forward?
And he's been the biggest surprise of camp, if you will. I told Coach Williams in radio, when you coach, you didn't have him in June and July and August and September. You had to wait till October 15th. So freshmen were still freshmen when it got to October 15th. But now they get all that training, they get exposed to everything that's going on, and they get so much more opportunity to have early growth. And that's what Jamar's done. He's taken advantage of the opportunity. He's completely changed his look, how he goes about doing his business from the first week of June till the first week of November. And the results are that he's on the floor. And if he keeps doing what he's doing, and he keeps practicing the way he's practicing, and he keeps being as coachable as he's been, he'll continue to do that. But you all can see he's got a live body. He makes athletic plays. He plays right, and hopefully he'll carve out a niche for us this year.
Got time for a few more. We'll go front row, middle to David.
When we talked to you previous to this, you stressed that a couple of things you wanted coming out of the preseason was taking care of the basketball and rebounding. Do you feel like you checked both those boxes tonight with just 7 turnovers total, despite all the guard lineups you played?
Yeah, obviously I'd take 7 turnovers every game we play. The rest of the games I get to coach in. I mean, it's a magnificent number, and it's something we've been talking about a lot with our team, especially since the Houston game, because we had so many, and their athleticism and intensity and 2 on the ball wasn't what Houston was, and that's no disrespect to North Alabama, but it's just not anyone really does it quite like that. So that was a great learning experience for us, and certainly we got a lot of games to see if that remains to be true. But yeah, the rebounding I thought was good. All game long, a little bit better in the first half than it was in the second half, but the numbers, came out pretty good for us. And we had some individuals, that had some really good rebounding. Short in the minutes, he got 8, and Quincy 7, and Sean Jones 9, and McCurry at 12, and everybody that played except Delquan got a rebound.
We'll go back to Danny P, second row, middle.
Coach, I'll piggyback off Jacob's question that I did. Well, he just he only scored 5 points for you, but the basket he had in the second half gave you the lead. Is that something you can point to as far as the team? Is this any, you can step up any time, just, stay in the game and
Yeah, he
keep playing hard?
Yeah, he might be right now, might be our best ball screen guy, because with his length and wingspan and the ability to move his feet, he can guard different coverages. So, for a defensive-minded coach, that's a luxury. Like some guys are built a certain way and move a certain way, they have to guard this way. He is not built that way, and we love being able to do that, being able to put him on different players and be able to guard ball screens differently, and he's proven to us in practice that that's going to be a big quality for him. And then, his offense will come. I mean, but again, and that's like King Grace, right? Played 13 minutes, had 4 points, 2 assists, no turnovers. But if you paid attention, he's a big, strong guard that can guard, and he's willing and able to guard. And so that's why those kids, as freshmen, are getting those opportunities because of having the right approach every single day.
Paul, wrap us up.
Coach, obviously you talked about Delquan being hurt early in the summer and coming back from that injury, and I asked Josh the same thing, but there kind of a point this summer where you saw, okay, this guy's really worked on his game and has kind of gained some confidence, because he looked like, from a confidence standpoint, he looked like a totally different player out there today.
Yeah, I love coaching Delquan. He's got an awesome approach. He's about what we're about. Since he's been here, we love coaching him every day. He wants to get better. He's just got great body language, great responses. He works on his game. He cares about his game. Like everyone on our team or across college basketball, he's got strengths and weaknesses. Obviously, I thought the corner 3 that he made was a big confidence booster for him. With him, for me, every time when I look at practice or a game, it's how many turnovers did he have? Because he tends to get aggressive, but it ain't really for himself. He likes to make plays for others, which is awesome, but he gets himself in trouble sometimes that way. So if he keeps taking care of that ball and being a consistent defender, which he has been for us, it was a little unlike him in the second half. He gave up a couple of drives, but he'll be in the rotation for sure.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.